Morning, I'm Clive Bleasdale, a partner with Waitmans in Liverpool. I'm a development lawyer and I'm joined this morning by Colin Sinclair, who's CEO of Knowledge Quarter, Liverpool and Sciontec. Morning, Colin.
Morning, Clive. Nice to see you and sat there in the plaza in Liverpool.
Good. Yes, perhaps you'd like to just say a bit about your background and your present role, Colin, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Well, there are two aspects to what I do here in Liverpool. The first is Knowledge Quarter Liverpool, KQ Liverpool we call it. The website's kqliverpool.co.uk. And we started that around about 4 years ago to create a world-leading innovation district right here in Liverpool. It's a mayoral development zone created by Joe Anderson, and it covers half of Liverpool city centre. But I wear two hats today. I'm also Chief Executive of Sciontec. We took science, innovation and technology, crammed it all into one word, Sciontec. And that is a development company. And I'll tell you more about that. But essentially, Knowledge Quarter Liverpool is about strategy and placemaking. And Sciontec is about developing world-class science and tech buildings and workspace.
I see. I mean, obviously, we speak in interesting times, and I just thought I'd be interested in hearing, and others may be interested in hearing, how you see, particularly in view of the present environment, the future of working in our cities.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last few days, perhaps the last couple of weeks have probably made us realise coronavirus hasn't gone away. It's here to stay. You know, for all of us in Liverpool, this is a difficult time. You know, people rightly have health concerns, and you know, many of us, you know, have significant concerns about, you know, where this takes the economy, and particularly for all our friends and colleagues who work in the creative industries and the nighttime economy. You know, if you think Liverpool is a city regenerated from the capital of culture onwards on its nighttime economy, tourism, culture, the visitor economy, conferences, conventions. Okay, you know, we're a city that I would say is kind of powered by knowledge and fueled by culture, but we depend on that part of our economy, and we're all going to have to, you know, work really hard to help those businesses get through this difficult time.
Yeah. What do you think our future working life looks like then? I mean, obviously, many of us have got used to having to, through necessity, work from home or work remotely. But how do you think that looks in terms of future plans for the city and working in the city,
Well,
particularly
you know,
office environment, perhaps?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think this is, you know, this is something none of us ever foresaw. You know, we might have seen the odd movie about such things, but not quite went into the reality of what we've all had to live with, and, you know, and the tragic consequences for so many people. But, you know, it's hard to look for positives, you know, when other people have had such a terrible time. But I think it has really shone a focus on flexible working. And for me, a typical week nowadays would be, you know, 3 or 4 days in our office at Liverpool Science Park, where I can work with colleagues. You know, I tend to find the productivity really high. Those incidental conversations across the desks, socially distanced, of course. But, you know, we're great as a team. You know, I'm lucky. You're only as good as the people you work with, and I'm surrounded at a safe space by brilliant people. And being in the office, I think, sparks creativity, innovation in a way that you could never get by being at home, sat on Zoom calls and Teams and all the rest of it. But there is a place for home too. We all have hectic lives. Quite often, both partners in a relationship are working. Quite often, they've got childcare. And we all have things to do, like write board papers and pour through financial spreadsheets. And, you know, why now would you think of traveling all the way to London on a train for a meeting with 6 people when you could do that by Teams or Zoom or something like that? So I think this has shone a light on flexible working. And I think going forward, we've probably all realised flexible working is really important. and that we should be empowering our colleagues to work in that way. But I don't think we can manage without the workspace or the office. And whilst one or two people I notice are very busy on Twitter saying working from home is the future, that's all I'm going to do, I think for the majority, for their mental health and for the productivity of their businesses, we need the workspace.
Yes, I think, as you say, the pandemic has focused thoughts on these matters and also perhaps accelerated some change in some ways, hasn't it, really? Things that were evolving anyway. Agile working is not new. It's been with us for a while, and it maybe has just assisted the evolution of that. But as you rightly say, I mean, I know from the point of view of my team and the people I work with, you know, there's a real concern that we keep the, as you say, socially distanced physical contact up there as well. What sort of plans have Sciontec got generally for the next few years? Can you share with us some things on that?
Yeah, I've always had a view the workspace had to change, whether it's offices or labs. You know, people expect more than just a desk in a dull room. So workspace has been changing for a long time. And whether it was my time, you know, working with Bruntwood in Manchester and here in Liverpool, or now with Sciontec, I'm fully aware that people need a better experience in the workspace. And it's not just about what your IT is, how your desk is, what the fitness studio is, what the yoga classes are like, what the public transport or you know, the whole thing around offices has changed and people demand so much more. So guess what? We've started at Sciontec with that in mind. What do the customers, we don't call them tenants, what do the customers of the future want? And if it's very difficult, you know, who would have thought 2 years ago we'd all be using Teams and Zoom to this extent? So we can't exactly know what customers are going to want because they don't know it themselves yet, but we've got to work hard to predict that and to plan that. So we want to create, own and manage the buildings of the future. That's our plan. That's what we want to do.
Yeah, I think hopefully we can all see a point in time, we can't identify when it'll be, where things will get back more to normal in terms of when we can see an end to the pandemic, really. And it's uncertainty, isn't it, at the moment, that's a big issue, really. We think we're getting to a position and then things change. So
well, we do, Clive. Nothing harms investment more than uncertainty, as we know. But look at what we've done. Look at the brilliant things we were doing going into the pandemic. You know, I've always believed, and a good friend of mine, Michael Parkinson, Professor Parkinson, always says, you know, if you're good at something going into the crisis, focus on that to get out of it. And we were, as a city region, already proving ourselves as world-class players in health and life sciences, digital and tech, everything from integrated data to materials chemistry to filmmaking. Liverpool is a very cool city, growing rapidly. So we mustn't forget that. You know, none of that is lost. We need to protect those businesses in hospitality that will be hardest hit, but we should focus also on where we're really good. And we are seeing in the Science Park and in our other buildings, some customers growing during the pandemic, some customers needing more space. We really are good at everything around health outcomes now, and the use of data and technology, digital health. And if you look at Paddington Village, which I know, you know, Waitmans have supported us, you know, this partnership we have with the city to take forward. Paddington Village is a phenomenal success story for the city and for the city region, because they've helped us financially too, with the very, very complicated groundworks and infrastructure that went into that site. And I'm sure you've been there, but it's not only on a big slope, it has the active train line into Lime Street underneath it. It has 2 other rail tunnels which are being kept for future use. It has the Williamson tunnels. So quite a complicated site. Couldn't have done it without support from Steve Rotherham and the city region. But that site now you know, just take a look at it.
Yeah.
People laugh and call it the giraffe. I think it's quite a cute name, but the Spine is one of the most phenomenal new buildings anywhere in the country. Speculatively built, 70% pre-let, and actually one of the 4 healthiest buildings in the world based on its specification. You've also got the new University of Liverpool Kaplan International College open. You'll see the cores are up now for what's going to be the flagship Novotel for the country. We're planning new science and tech buildings on site. You know, Paddington is a huge success story, and we mustn't forget that that's underway. LGMU are underway on a great new campus at Copperas Hill, and there's lots of exciting things that will still happen. Might be delayed a bit, but they'll still happen.
Yeah, I mean, very cutting edge. Obviously, I'm very aware of a lot of the things that are going on there. I mean, the energy system that's going in there is cutting edge, and even an old guy like me can learn new tricks in terms of how those systems are going in, and it's amazing. It really is. And we've had barriers, as you say. I mean, again, as somebody that's been around personally a while, I'll say it before anybody else says it. There've been challenges over the decades, and Liverpool has proved very resourceful at meeting those challenges, and the advances I've seen in the last 20 years have been phenomenal, but in the last 5 years, fantastic. And it's great to see your enthusiasm and energy. I know you've got a lot of energy, you know, physical energy, if I may be so forward, and it's great to see.
There's no coincidence, Clive, between the fact that my hobby is endurance sports and I love regeneration. The two things go together.
Excellent. Yeah, good. Yes, in terms of the usual barriers then to development, I mean, in terms of funding and things like that, you're finding that you've been overcoming those challenges in the last few years then?
Yeah, you know, I said before, you're only as good as the people you work with. I think we have developed a great team in Liverpool. The Knowledge Quarter is a partnership of the City Council, John Moores University, University of Liverpool, the School of Tropical Medicine, you know, world leader. Tens of millions of pounds of Bill Gates's money have gone into that, and rightly so. And the NHS Trust. We've now got Bruntwood Scientec on board. And we also work very closely with Hope Street because of that, the vital importance of having culture right next to universities, health and education. I think that mix is almost unique in Liverpool around the country. So I think the power of partnership is vital. And our chair, Professor Dame Janet Beer, talks about that power of partnership creating something greater than the sum of its parts. And I think it really has. And when we first met, my very first board meeting, you know, we made a vow that we wouldn't be average. We wouldn't accept the norm. We would challenge everything, challenge the norm. We would only do what's world class. We wouldn't have meetings just to talk about problems. We'd have meetings to talk about what we're going to do and then go away and do it. And I think that proactivity, that collaboration, that partnership, and then backed up by people like Tony Reeves and the team at the City Council and the team at the Combined Authority. Liverpool is in a good place. You know, we will all have bad days, as we saw in the football yesterday. You know, everybody has an off day, but if we get far more right than we get wrong, I think the future for the city and the region is really bright.
Great. Well, I mean, I'm one always to look on the glass half full side. So positivity is a great thing. And it's great to talk to you today and hear about your positive vision for the future, Colin. So I know you're a busy guy, but thanks very much for your time this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Clive. And look forward to catching up with you for a coffee next time I'm over at the Plaza, and it's safe to do so. So see you then.
Great. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye now.
Cheers, Colin. Bye.